Chapter 8. A lot of people drew short straws and suffered greatly when things changed over. But it's hard to imagine many who got it worse than Jerome. He was a 24-year-old professional basketball player living in New York City. His life was amazing. He loved every minute of it. Every night was something new and exciting. Whether he was playing in front of thousands of screaming fans, or sleeping with yet another beautiful woman, or dining at another world-class restaurant, Jerome was living his dream, and was excited to see and experience everything that would come next. Sadly for him, what came next was a nightmare. He was in the gym for some solo nighttime training when it happened. He loved shooting around alone at night. It was peaceful. One minute, he's casually jogging after his own rebound. The next, he's staring up at a ceiling, barely able to move and completely unable to speak. The only sounds he was able to make were wails. His vision was cloudy and undeveloped. He was an infant. The grown mind of a man trapped in the body of an infant. He had no idea what was happening. His tiny new body wasn't strong enough to move or even lift itself up off the mattress. All he could do was roll onto his sides to see that he was in his crib. He tried to yell out, but could only cry. He tried to grab hold of something, anything, but his new hands were too small and weak. There was nothing he could do. No one was coming to help. Whomever had jumped into the bodies of his parents never came into the room. He laid in the crib crying, wailing and going to the bathroom until his little body gave out from starvation. An exciting life with a promising future cut short in the body of an infant. Chapter 9. In his other life, he had been a 73-year-old man, agonizing through the last steps of a long dance with cancer. Sometimes, in the early days of the New World, he would look upon all the chaos and death and wonder if he had died, and this was reincarnation. You're not supposed to remember your previous lives upon reincarnation, theoretically, but surely there were exceptions. He remembered everything. The diagnosis, stage 4. The oncologist couldn't even be sure of where it began. Likely the colon or the liver. It had since metastasized and spread far and wide. Lungs, stomach, pancreas. Everyone knows that once it gets into your pancreas, it's a death sentence. Enjoy the time you have left, the doctor said. There was nothing that could be done. It was no way for a hero to die. He probably should have died somewhere in South Vietnam. Hue City would have been as good a place as any, but he kept sneaking past the Grim Reaper. Eventually, he had survived long enough and killed enough of them to earn a ticket back to the States. He went to college, then moved to New York and got a job on Wall Street. He always felt like his war experience gave him an edge in the market. He was good. Not one of the best, but good. A killer. Built a nice life for himself. Eventually married and had one son. Moved to the suburbs. Put the kid through college. Retired. Moved upstate. It had been a good life. He fought hard. He worked hard. He was faithful to his wife, good to his son, and even better to his one grandson. He thought he had earned his golden years. Then the Reaper, whom he so narrowly escaped time and time again in Nam, finally caught up. No way for a war hero to die. 3 months later, he was immobile, awaiting his old pal the Reaper's final call in between FaceTimes with his son, who by this point had moved clear across the country. At least his wife was there by his side. She had to hold the phone for him since he didn't have enough strength. He didn't want her to carry a torch for him once he was gone. Bury him, mourn him, move on from him. She deserved another chapter. She told him she couldn't, but he knew that after enough time, she would find someone. State was up by 3 late in the 4th. South was marching. They still had 2 timeouts. Even though he wouldn't live to see the end of the season, he would live to see the end of this game. If it were his last, it would be nice to die with the last game he saw being a spotted leopard winner. He never saw the next play. Everything went black. When the light returned, he was somewhere else, and someone else. And he felt good. Damn good. He woke up on a cruise ship somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It was the dead of the night. Anyone who jumped into the body of someone who was sleeping remained asleep until their new body either naturally woke up or was woken up by outside forces. As a result, the ship was still and quiet as it traveled across the calm sea. The body Lou jumped into was awake, wide awake. It was the body of a young man. He had been in the middle of making love with a young woman at the exact moment everything changed over. Something Lou hadn't experienced in quite some time. Something he should not have experienced again. It was pitch black in the cabin. The lights were out. All Lou could see was the outline of the woman he was on top of, her face lightly illuminated by the moonlight coming through the porthole. His new arms were wrapped around her, his new hands gripping her shoulder blades. He almost immediately loosened his grip as confusion washed over him. The woman he was with had been mid-moan when things changed over. The moan immediately became a scream as whomever was now in her body threw Lou off with a surprising amount of force. The cabin was small, and he crashed right into a wall before sliding to the floor, naked and sweaty in his strange new body. Utterly confused, disoriented, and temporarily blind by the impact and the darkness of his new surroundings. "What the hell?" he muttered while grabbing at the back of his head, now throbbing after connecting with the wall. "Who are you? What is—" The person whose mind now lived in the woman's body stopped. They were at a loss for words. Regaining his composure, Lou banged his hand around the wall until finding a light switch and flipped it on. The sudden pop of light flooding the room temporarily disoriented both Lou and the person in the woman's body. Lou rubbed and blinked his new eyes to help them adapt before turning their focus to his new cabin mate. The body of the woman on the bed couldn't have been older than 24. At first, the person now living inside of her didn't cover up, too shocked and confused. Then, once they snapped back to reality, they grabbed the sheet and yanked it over their naked, sweaty body. Then they realized it wasn't even their body, and dropped the sheet. "Don't fucking move," they said to Lou. They slowly got out of bed, always keeping an eye on Lou, and trying to maintain as safe a distance as they could in such tight quarters. There was a small mirror attached to the wall. They stood before it and started examining themselves in the reflection. Lou got up to do the same. The person in the woman's body took a defensive stance, ready to fight. Lou threw both of his hands up. "Calm down. Just want to look in the mirror too." The pair stood there silently, examining their new bodies. They poked and prodded the unfamiliar new flesh, each wearing looks of utter shock and confusion. Finally, Lou turned his focus toward the person in the woman's body. "So, do you have any idea of what's going on?" "No. Do you?" "At least she speaks English," he thought. Well, I'm up until a couple seconds ago. I was in bed watching football." "State and South?" "Yeah." The person in the woman's body nodded out of respect. "Good game." "Yeah. Any idea what the hell's happening?" They shook their head. "Where even are we?" they asked. More importantly, who are we?" said Lou. I'm guessing you're not." He motioned up and down with his hand, referring to her body. "God, no. I actually look more, like you. Or I used to." Lou couldn't help thinking about how well this person in front of him was taking everything, or how well he was. In the years that followed, when he looked back on those first few minutes, he would always remark on how surprisingly calm they both became after the initial wave of shock had passed. It appeared that each of their consciousnesses had jumped into new bodies, seemingly at random. Aside from the initial freakout, an understandable freakout, they were each grasping the situation with surprising restraint. "What about you?" the person in the woman's body asked. I guess I'm used to look a bit like this. Not in a few decades, though." "So yeah, I think we did." "How?" "2 minutes ago, I was an old man on my deathbed waiting for the cancer to finish things off. Now, I'm standing naked in the body of a young man. across from someone in the naked body of a young woman who I was just having sex with in what happens to be a cabin of a cruise ship somewhere out in probably the Atlantic, if I'm had to guess. I have no idea how, my friend. The person in the woman's body laughed, then held out their hand. Spencer. That's that that was my name. Lou put out his hand. I guess I suppose it still is. I go by Lou. They shook hands. Maybe we should get dressed and go take a look. See if we're the only ones. Yeah, probably shouldn't be walking around like this. Sorry about the, never want to experience that again. It just didn't feel right. But I guess we're cool. Lou looked around the room. He'd been on a few cruise ships in his day, both alone with the wife and with the entire family. The cabins were usually even smaller than this one. I'm thinking these people may have been on their honeymoon. Jesus, what a time to... Spencer trailed off, at a loss for words. Yeah. They scrounged around for some clothes, got dressed, then headed out to explore the ship. It was dark and quiet in the guest quarters. Guess we were the only ones having, instead of sleeping, said Spencer. Lucky us. The hallway was dimly lit, but it was enough to make their way to the stairs and up to the deck. They were all alone and surrounded by water as far as the eye could see in every direction. This is so fucked, said Spencer. Lou sensed he might be starting to freak out. It's okay. Calm down, kid. How old are you? The real you, anyway. 18, man. Just started college a couple weeks ago. Supposed to be at a party watching the end of the game right now. Not wherever the hell this is. He was shaking. The initial wave of shock that made him seem so calm 10 minutes earlier was wearing off. Lou felt for the kid. The poor bastard should have been at a party. What are we doing out here? He was getting hysterical. Shh. Calm down. We're not supposed to be here. I'm not a... This isn't right. His teeth were chattering. Lou tried shaking him out of it. Shut up. Calm down. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. Lou slapped the kid. It was like a scene out of an old movie. Lou might have laughed had he not been so scared for Spencer. It was in that moment when Lou realized just how lucky he was. Whatever the hell had just happened had taken him out of his old, cancer-ridden body and dropped him into a young, fit, and healthy body. Even though he was floating out in the middle of the ocean, he would take this over the cancer and the deathbed 1,000,001 times out of 1,000,000. He had won the lottery. All he had to do was get to land safely to cash in his ticket. Then, staring at poor Spencer, who had gone silent but continued to shake, Lou began to feel guilty. If this was happening all over the world, and he had no reason to believe it wasn't, then there were billions of people going through what he and Spencer were going through. It stood to reason that most weren't as lucky as he was. Hell, he thought, some poor young kid might have just been cursed with my body for all I know. It's okay, kid, he told Spencer, removing his hands from those slender, feminine shoulders. We'll figure this out. Before he could say another word, he heard footsteps. It was a woman wearing a maid's uniform. The body clearly belonged to someone who worked on the cruise ship and must have been doing some nighttime cleaning when things happened. Que se passe-t-il? Said the woman. Lou looked at Spencer. Any idea? Spencer shook his head. Que se passe-t-il? Said the woman again, louder, more hysterical. I don't know, said Lou. Can't understand you. The woman stopped and stared. No, French, said Spencer. Americans? Said the person in the woman's body. You speak English? Said Lou. She nodded. Tell me, American, what is happening? I went to sleep in my bed in Lyon. Now I'm on this boat, dressed in this maid's outfit, and this is not my body. Lots of that going around right now, said Lou. Does that mean you two? He's supposed to be an 18-year-old boy at college at Central. Central, really, Spencer shrugged. Anyway, he's supposed to be a teenage boy at a party in Central. I'm supposed to be an old man dying of cancer in upstate New York. And you're supposed to be in bed in Lyon, France. This is really happening. The three of them stood there in silence, each contemplating what they were going through. It was the last quiet moment any of them would have for a while. The scream came from below deck, but was loud enough for each of them to hear. "Oh shit," said Lou. "Here we go." Long before he jumped into his new body in the chaos of the new world, Lou was a 19-year-old in the jungles of Vietnam. He had been designated 1A, which meant he was eligible to be drafted. Then he won the grand prize in arguably the worst lottery in history. The little ball with his birthdate, September 14th, was the first one drawn when the draft began on December 1st, 1969. Then the journey began. Trained to kill, then shipped off to the other side of the world to do just that. He didn't have much going back home, so he really didn't mind. Born and raised in a coal mining town in Virginia, he didn't have many options. His family didn't have the money to send him to college, and he wasn't smart enough nor good enough at sports to earn a scholarship. His plans after high school had been to work in the mines. He wasn't looking forward to it. Although he had no plans on enlisting, he considered being drafted the best opportunity he'd have to get out of the mines. All he had to do was survive. Then he could get out on his GI Bill, go to college, and begin a new life far from his hometown. The war was rough. His experience wasn't much unlike anything that's since been portrayed in movies. He went on missions in the bush. He experimented with alcohol and drugs. He slept with prostitutes. Most importantly, he did what he had been trained to do. He killed. 47 for sure. Those were the ones he saw clearly as the bullets left his gun and pierced the skin, sending chunks of flesh, pieces of bone, and gallons of blood flying in all directions. He also killed two with a knife. There were likely many others that he connected with while firing madly from cover or in the darkness, but 47 for sure. He had always been surprised at just how fast he and the rest of the guys became desensitized to it all. Then again, the VC, Viet Cong, were trying to kill him. So why should he hesitate or have any sympathy? If he wanted to survive, get back to the States, and have a life, he was going to have to end as many of theirs as possible. One night, relatively early in his tour, he found himself enjoying a beer with one of his commanding officers, CO. 2 days earlier, he had survived his first truly intense firefight, notching 2 kills that he knew about in the process. He was still working through it and decided to ask the CO how he dealt with killing. "I don't ask questions," said the CO, "and I don't think about it. Those are the things that get you killed. You want to live, right?" Lou nodded. "Then follow my advice. Don't think. Don't ask questions. Just follow orders." Years later, in his new body during those months at sea, he would take lives for the first time since the war. When he did, he thought about that old CO. Not just his words, but the look on his face when he died some months later. When it was all said and done, he had served his time. He was honorably discharged, even earned a few medals. He shed his fatigues and relinquished his weapons. Then he made a promise to himself. He promised himself he would never fire a gun, wield a knife in anger, or kill another human again. Technically, he had kept his promise, considering the next time he did kill was in his new body, his new life. But that didn't stop him from thinking about the old promise he had made to himself so many years earlier. After the war, he studied finance at a state school on the recommendation from a friend he met in Nam, a kid who didn't make it but had always talked about working on Wall Street. All the opportunity there. Lou liked the sound of it. Lou ended up taking to it naturally. He had a mind for finance. On top of that, he worked hard. It was the miner's blood mixed with the soldier's will. People where he was from knew how to work. People who survived the kind of war he saw knew how to fight. After school, Lou headed straight for New York, where he started from the bottom and built that nice life for himself. He didn't suffer from PTSD like you hear about with Vietnam vets. He didn't bring back any drug or alcohol habits either. In fact, he went the opposite direction, swearing off alcohol for the rest of his life, only to pick it back up in his new life because why not? Even then, it would only be occasional glasses of wine imported from a friendly settlement to the south. In the years that followed everything changing over, Lou only opened up to a handful of people, but he told them all the same thing, that the combination of serving in Vietnam and working on Wall Street from the 70s into the early 2000s had prepared him for everything he would have to do in the new world, the good and, unfortunately, the bad. It took somewhere between 4 and 5 weeks from that first night until Lou safely docked the cruise ship somewhere off the coast of France. They knew it was France thanks to Lucy, the French woman Lou had met that first night, the one who had jumped into the body of a housekeeper. She had become a trusted friend. The funnier coincidence of their names being Lou and Lucy was not lost on them. "This is France," she said. "I don't believe it." "How do you know?" asked Lou. "You would know America, no?" Suddenly, without warning, shots rang out from the mainland. Everyone on the ship who was still alive hit the deck. "It's okay, everyone," said Lou. "Warning shots. Firing into the air to get our attention." Lou walked out to the bow of the ship and waved the white T-shirt. Even though they were a safe distance from the shore, they were close enough for him to see people getting into boats. A few minutes later, the boats were making their way across the water to greet him and his people. Once the boats were close enough, they dropped anchor. All but one member of the welcoming party drew guns. The lone unarmed person in a woman's body stepped forward. Lou didn't need to ask. He could tell by the awkward lumber of a walk that the woman's body housed a man's mind. He was wearing blue jeans and a men's button-down shirt, and had short hair styled neatly in a side part. He was going out of his way to let everyone know that he was only wearing the body of a woman. "English?" he asked. "Oh, thank God," thought Lou. "Yes, English." "American?" "Yes." "You all wake up on that ship in the middle of the ocean?" "Yes." "How many?" 22, I think. On a cruise ship, should be more. We had some difficulties." There was a pause while the stranger thought about this. Lou's mind wandered to flashes of Spencer. He had to shake them away. He never wanted to think about that poor kid again. "Yeah, us too," said the stranger. "Weapons?" 2 9mm, 11 total rounds left. "That bad, huh?" "Rather not talk about it." "I would. Tell me about it over coffee?" "Would do just about anything for a decent cup of coffee." "Come on board. Take you in for a chat. Just you, and hand over the weapons." None of his people wanted him to go. They didn't trust the strangers. They could torture and kill you." "Yeah, seems like a lot of effort. I think they'll just ask some questions. It'll be fine." Lou had told them all about Vietnam, how he had stared death in the face many times. He had also told them about the cancer. As far as he was concerned, every moment he got in this strange new reality and healthy new body was extra credit that he hadn't earned. Why spend it in fear? He also knew that it was getting colder by the day. Soon it would be too cold to survive on a cruise ship at sea. They needed to get to land. They needed to get indoors. Get new, thicker clothes. Otherwise, they'd all be dead within a month or two. 10 minutes later, he was on the stranger's boat, riding silently toward shore. Another 15 minutes later, and he was walking on actual land for the first time in months. The first time ever in his new body. The boat carrying Lou was the only one that headed to shore. The others stayed with the cruise ship to keep watch. Smart, thought Lou. He toppled over the moment he first set foot on land. The stranger and their crew laughed. "Come on, let's get some coffee in you." The stranger pointed, and Lou followed the point to a coffee shop open right along the boardwalk. It was still in fine shape. The same could not be said for large chunks of the surrounding area. Although the place appeared to be under control now, the people there had clearly experienced some turmoil of their own. "Yes," said Lou. "Coffee." He struggled back to his feet and regained balance with each step. By the 15th step, he was walking strong again. He had no desire to get back on a boat any time soon. Lou sat across from the stranger while they waited for their coffees. Neither said a word as the stranger casually emptied the clips of Lou's 2 guns, counted the rounds twice, 11, just as Lou had said, and handed the guns and bullets to one of the 6 armed people in men's bodies who surrounded them. The stranger had yet to tell Lou their name. Lou imagined it might have been some sort of tactic, probably something about not providing any information until you're ready. He wasn't sure what to expect. Was he about to be interrogated? Or was it to be nothing more than a friendly chat? 2 people getting to know one another over a cup of coffee. Just forget about the armed guards on all sides. Either way, the stranger wasn't speaking. They must have been waiting for Lou to make the first move. So, Lou said. The stranger's hand went up, a casual stop sign. Wait for God to join us. Huh? Lou clearly had no idea what the stranger was talking about. He worried that he may have found his way into some sort of religious doomsday cult. If that were the case, he couldn't get back to the cruise ship soon enough. Dewey Decimal System. Ever see it? Lou shook his head, relieved that he was merely dealing with a cinephile, not a zealot. Never was one for movies. The stranger fell back in the chair. Oh man, I fucking love them. Well, love them. Quote 'em every chance I get. Ain't that right, fellas? The members of the security detail all nodded. Probably, about the thing I miss most about the old world besides, my body. They leaned forward. I tell you what. You check out that, we let you in. Once we get the power up and running, if we get the power up and running, I'll, find a copy and we'll watch it. It's great. You'll love it. That a line from it? Oh yeah. It'll make sense when you see it. If you see it. No spoilers. Lou could not have cared less about that movie or any other movie. He'd read the book it was based off of and didn't like it. He just didn't feel like telling this mysterious new stranger about it. Besides, he couldn't recall anything about that line being in the book. Must have been added specifically for the movie. It was a stupid line anyway. What did it even mean? Who talks like that? Only people in movies. Lou shook his head to reset it. The bad dialogue was nothing but a distraction. He needed to move away from it. There were more important matters. Sounds good, he finally said, changing the subject. But first, don't you have things you want to know? What's the rush? Ship's not going anywhere. Coffee be ready in a minute. Then we'll, get down to business. For now, just enjoy the view. Lou had to admit, the cafe had a hell of a view, even obscured by the large cruise ship that had been in its home for too long. The ocean looked spectacular from his seat. After taking in those waves, his eyes focused on the ship. He considered the 21 people still alive who were waiting for him, counting on him. He could see their faint outlines dotting the deck, trying their best to watch him. A cold breeze rushed in from off the waves. It was early December by Lou's count. Winter had yet to fully set in, but it was clearly at the doorstep. Hard to beat an ocean view, Lou agreed. Amen. The coffees were delivered by someone in a young woman's body. Thanks, Derek, said the stranger. You can go. 65-year-old man in that body. Now look at him. Some people got lucky when things changed over. Don't gotta tell me. Oh, that's so? I was on my deathbed. Terminal cancer. Now look at me. Damn, really? Lou nodded. Good for you, man. That's great. Cheers. He raised his coffee cup. Lou reciprocated. What about you, stranger? Honestly, I'm kind of a lateral move aside from the gender swap, I guess you could say. According to the ID in her pocket, I got 6 years younger. I was 44-year-old dude. Now I'm a 38-year-old woman. Is it weird? Lou contemplated the stranger's look while asking this. Despite the woman's body, he was doing everything he could visually to signal to the world that he had the mind of a man. Oh, it's a hell of an adjustment. Probably the weirdest thing is, knowing how it feels to be on the other side. You mean, hell yeah, I've tried it. Shit, man. This is my body now. I still dress and I try to look like my old self, but don't mean I haven't accepted the new reality. May as well take it for a few spins. Lou didn't know how to respond to that. It wasn't that the stranger talked so brash. Lou had met plenty of soldiers in Nam and traders on Wall Street with foul mouths. It was the subject matter. He liked to think that had he jumped into a woman's body, he wouldn't be able to go through with having sex with someone in a man's body. Meanwhile, this stranger sitting across from him had apparently embraced it without hesitation. Lou could only remain still and silent, his mouth agape. Oh, calm down. You just told me you were dying of cancer. Now you're young again. Telling me you don't want to take that fresh young body for a spin? Thoughts of Spencer in those first moments in the cabin broke into Lou's mind before he ejected them. It's not that. It's being on the other side? Yeah, the stranger shrugged. It is what it is, or whatever. You know, we both got so damn lucky, man. Seen so much shit since all this went down. Yet here I am, alive, healthy, running this place. Can't go wrong with that. Definitely not. Some got older, some got younger, some got real mixed up, some got totally fucked. Trust me, leave this place and head inland, you'll see what I mean. Lou finally took his first sip of his coffee. The moment it touched his lips, he felt reborn. He had long been a coffee junkie. The stuff on the ship had been abysmal at best. This brew was surprisingly good. He nodded with an in between his first and second sips while trying to imagine what the stranger was talking about. He pictured corpses littering the landscape, then shook the images from his head and took another sip. He was already halfway done with the cup and looking forward to one more. Don't drink too fast, said the stranger. Once our supply is gone, it's gone. No more shipments coming. Lou considered this, then ignored it and finished his cup. He licked his lips and savored the flavor. It was good to be alive. All right, the stranger continued. Enough screwing around. So, a little bit about me. Was a professional poker player, if you can believe that. Traveled the world, made good cash, great life. I can read people real good. Especially now, since no one knows how their new bodies work. You'd be amazed how easy it is to spot a bullshitter. It's, why I'm in charge. Why we're putting together the beginnings of a functioning society so fast. I can spot a fraud like that, snapped his fingers. Someone comes here in a man's body claiming to be a teenage girl when they're really some sicko. I see through them in an instant. Whole time we've been bullshitting, I've been watching you. Your tendencies, mannerisms, all that. You're telling the truth so far, but I'll know if you're lying. So, with that in mind, tell me what I need to know about yourself and the people on that cruise ship. Lou considered what the stranger said. Then he laid it on him. The broad stroke plot points of his life from Virginia to Nam to Wall Street, retirement and cancer. Then he told him about waking up on the cruise ship on top of Spencer and everything that happened in the minutes, hours, days, and weeks that followed. All the events that led him to becoming the leader of their group, and why a large majority, the people who woke up on that cruise ship, were now floating across the Atlantic, food for the fish. The stranger never took his eyes off of Lou, studied his every move, and analyzed his every word. After Lou's story was finished, the stranger quietly contemplated all he had just heard while sipping his coffee. Once the cup was empty, he let out a satisfied, ah. He signaled to Derek for a refill before turning to one of the bodyguards. Contact the boats, let them know our population just got bigger. Then let Nancy and her team know they need to prepare more rooms. He looked at Lou, who despite his best efforts was visibly cold in his t-shirt. And some warm clothes. The bodyguard nodded and left. Even though Lou knew what this meant, he stayed quiet and waited to hear the words directly from the stranger's mouth. The stranger reached out his hand. I'm Daniel. Lou shook his hand. Welcome to Portstown. Once settled in Portstown, Lou earned Daniel's trust and rose through the ranks to become a voice of leadership. It wasn't hard for Daniel or anyone else to trust Lou, believe in him, or be willing to follow him. He was a natural leader. Plus, He had experience that came with age and living an action-packed life to help guide his decisions. Throughout Lou's first year in Portstown, they sent away or killed many more rivals than they let in. They also repelled several attempts at attacks. By the time the second winter of the New World rolled around, the population had swelled to 200, and everyone was trustworthy. That was when Lou proposed his grand idea: to build walls around Portstown and fortify it from attackers and other unwanted visitors. The proposal was voted on and passed unanimously. It took 2 years to complete the walls, but they became a key feature. Over the course of the next year, the citizens put all their energy into making Portstown the flourishing fishing settlement it would become known as. Everyone was assigned jobs and gladly accepted them. Most food was sourced via fishing. By the 6th year of the New World, they had begun establishing trade routes with peaceful inland settlements to provide meats, vegetables, and other items such as wine. Most of this was done as part of a deal with a newly established trading company. Soon everything was running smooth. Despite Daniel having been the one to bring Portstown out of the dark early days and set the tone for future prosperity, even he agreed that Lou was far more fit to lead. Instead, Daniel oversaw relations with the outside world and vetting of potential new citizens while Lou handled internal affairs. It was a perfect partnership. During the 4th year, after the walls had been completed and life in Portstown was rounding into place, some of the American-born citizens began to express their homesickness. They wanted to return to the U.S., even if it was no longer the U.S. they once knew. And since there was a cruise ship still anchored off the coast, plans were made to send the first voyage across. Even though Portstown was still in its early days of interaction with the outside world, word still managed to spread, leading to new arrivals who hoped to take part in the maiden voyage. Since the ship hadn't moved in 4 years, and fuel was impossible to come by, the ship was retrofitted to make it seaworthy. It took more than a year of nearly around-the-clock work, but the day eventually came when it was ready. One of the original 22 survivors of the cruise ship, Roger, volunteered to be the captain. He had long had Lou's full trust. Now he had Lou's support to be captain. Shortly after the ship was ready, he shoved off with a crew of 10 Portstown citizens and 31 passengers, some from Portstown, others who had arrived from the outside world and earned a spot. Captain Roger returned just over 9 months later with 11 new arrivals who were European-born, and like those who had left with the initial voyage, just wanted to return to the land they once called home. While in the U.S., Captain Roger encountered a coastal settlement named Wavebreak that was similar to Portstown. They were peaceful and accommodating. They managed to establish a mutually beneficial partnership centered around transatlantic travel. With the voyage a success, word began to spread even further that Portstown had transatlantic travel capabilities. Soon, Lou observed as Captain Roger took one round-trip voyage across the Atlantic per year, with multi-week layovers at each settlement in between. After 4 years, they managed to source another old cruise ship and get it travel-ready. They promoted a crew member from the primary ship to captain of the new one. By the 15th year of the New World, Portstown was a hotbed of travel, commerce, and culture, with 2 ships passing each other as they traveled back and forth between what was once the United States and what was once France. No one knows how many people traveled the Atlantic on those 2 ships, or where most of them ended up once their trips were over. Knowing he was helping so many people gave Lou's second life meaning he never thought he would experience back when he was diagnosed with cancer.